So Derrick Lewis versus Chris Daukaus just took place in the main event of UFC Fight Night Vegas 45, Lewis versus Daukaus, and wow, I need to give my reaction to this, the final fight card of the year, the final fight of the year in the main event. Derrick Lewis gets a first round KO over Chris Daukaus. What an amazing finish by Derrick Lewis. Honestly, after his last fight against Cyril Gane, a lot of people counted out Derrick Lewis. I did not count out Derrick Lewis, by the way. I saw he was an underdog, and I picked him to win this one by easy first round KO. And that's arguably what happened. Now, he did have some problems early on, took a couple of leg kicks here and there, but eventually he landed the big shots that he needed to and put down Chris Daukaus, and it just goes to show how good is Cyril Gane for dealing with this man, because any shot this guy hits you with puts you in another dimension. Now, Chris Daukaus did take a couple of big Derrick Lewis shots, but like as soon as one of them lands clean and you don't see it coming, it's over. It wasn't even like a big shot. It wasn't like a classic Derrick Lewis overhand perfectly on the chin. It wasn't an uppercut on Curtis Blades as Curtis Blades ducks into it. I know it landed with the wrist, but either way, still a flush uppercut while Blades ducks into it as well. It was just sort of like a clinch punch from Derrick Lewis. But if it lands good on the chin, it doesn't matter if it's in the clinch. You're done. Down goes Chris Daukaus, gets finished in the first round. Was looking okay before that, but Derrick Lewis just goes to show that I was correct. I'm taking that prediction. Underdog of Derrick Lewis. Some people were picking Chris Daukaus to win, but I just thought to myself, listen, Chris Daukaus is not really a big guy. He's about 40 pounds less than Derrick Lewis in the cage. He's not going to have the presence and intimidation factor to go out there and destroy Derrick Lewis. I just didn't see it happening. You have to be big enough and rangy enough and powerful enough on your own to make Derrick Lewis respect you. Otherwise, he's going to have some really great fights against you. He beats most people that are his size or smaller in the heavyweight division. Now, Chris Daukaus was bigger than I imagined, but Derrick Lewis, I mean, police officer versus ex-convict. Derrick Lewis straight defunded Chris Daukaus' chin. Down it goes. Oh my God, it was a great win. It was a really good win by Derrick Lewis. And also, this changes the trajectory of his entire career, because honestly, if he loses to Chris Daukaus, I just don't see Derrick Lewis ever fighting again. He broke the KO record with this one as well. I believe it was 16. He's now set the record at 16. He did it as a clean fighter as well, because Vitor Belfort, of course, was the guy who also tied the record with him, along with Matt Brown too, by the way. But either way, Derrick Lewis breaks the KO record, gets the KO at the end of the first round, and Daukaus is going to have to really reset some things, because that is a bad KO loss. He just quit his job with the police force as well to focus on this full time, and that's what you get. Derrick Lewis landing one good shot. I feel like he didn't even land really anything against Daukaus in the first part of that fight. I mean, Daukaus was landing headshots, landing good shots to the body, couple of good shots to the leg as well. I think he landed, 14 overall. He landed a couple of good headshots towards the end as well in the clinch, but again, you can't be hit by Derrick Lewis, especially if you're smaller than him and you're not a guy like Cyril Gane who has the fucking wizardry footwork. I just saw Chris Daukaus get hit so many times clean by Shamil Abdurakhimov and thought to myself, this guy's head movement's not the best. His footwork's not the best. If you put him under pressure, he doesn't seem to move too well. If Derrick Lewis charged after Cyril Gane like that, you know what Cyril Gane would do? Lean back, move, sidestep, switch stances, find the clinch, separate, circle round till he's facing the center, or till his back is to the center of the cage, disengage from the clinch, find his way back out in the open, touching at the leg, touching at the body with front kicks, touching with the jab. But Daukaus just didn't have the ability to jab at Derrick Lewis. He didn't have the ability to sting him with any big power shots on the feet to make Derrick Lewis on the back foot. He just didn't really have the presence. You've got to have some kind of... Lewis has got to fear you. Like Volkov was just piecing him apart. Big, tall, giant guy, Alexander Volkov, destroying Derrick Lewis. Then you've got the fucking other fight with Derrick Lewis that he lost in his career. Lewis hasn't lost many fights. Honestly, I'm just realizing it now. Cyril Gane, bigger, longer, rangier guy, picked at Derrick Lewis from range before eventually getting the finish. Lewis has not lost a lot of fights. I mean, he lost to Mark Hunt. He lost to some fights earlier in his career, but DC he lost to as well. JDS, another big guy with a lot of power that can go blow to blow with Derrick Lewis and be that bigger man with better boxing, with equal amounts of power. But yeah, Daukaus just wasn't threatening enough, and Lewis sensed that immediately. Took a couple of hard leg kicks early on, which were very good, by the way, so if you can give any credit to Daukaus for his performance, I mean, he was winning the fight. I mean, but that's typically how it goes with every Derrick Lewis fight, so it's hard to really give him too many points for that one. But he landed a bunch of good leg kicks, very, very hesitant early on. And there you go. Down goes Chris Daukaus. Derrick Lewis gets the job done. Amazing performance by Derrick Lewis, honestly. Really good performance. And it resets everything. Now you can do Derrick Lewis versus Stipe Miocic. Has a great post-fight interview as well, of course. Mentions that he threw a cup to a guy in the crowd so he can sell it as an NFT or something like that. I don't even know. I'm confused by NFTs, so I don't even know what that means, but he brought up NFTs, which is funny if you get it. I don't even know what NFTs are. I swear, NFTs are just a way to just rob fans and give them fucking... It's just an excuse to sell anything to a fan, even if it's worthless, to make a shit ton of money. It's crazy how they get away with it, but either way, Lewis ain't doing NFTs. He was only making a joke. I'm getting too into it now. But either way, great performance by Derrick Lewis. Great post-fight speech afterwards. He didn't call anyone out, which is interesting. Didn't call anyone out whatsoever, but I think he should have called out Stipe. The Stipe fight's right there, and in all honesty, unless we get Gigantor Stipe 2.0 coming back, shaved head Stipe, with a fucking twirly moustache, ready to fucking yank Derrick Lewis's legs out from underneath him and take him for a grappling fucking special, I can see Derrick Lewis KOing Stipe. Stipe's had a bunch of time off, and he's going to get KO'd when he comes back, I reckon. He's going to be hesitant in the early rounds. He's not the biggest of guys. He's got good grappling, but Lewis can just seem to get right back up to his feet, could even stuff takedowns against a guy like Curtis Blades. He's got such a big upper body that it's hard to get underneath him. It's hard to get those takedowns and topple him over, unless you're DC and you can just fucking pick up his leg and dunk him, even with a bad back. But either way, Derrick Lewis has improved his grappling defense massively. He said he doesn't want any more 5-round fights. Can you make an exception and do a 3-round title shot? They're not going to give him the title shot, but again, the Stipe Miocic fight is right there. And I was looking at the rankings, and really think to yourself here. Stipe Miocic is ranked number 2 at the heavyweight division. Derrick Lewis is ranked number 3 in the heavyweight division, okay? Stipe Miocic at number 2 at heavyweight. I know he was the champion and he beat DC and all that, and he beat a bunch of names, including Ngannou himself, but Derrick Lewis beat Ngannou as well. Stipe Miocic's resume in the heavyweight division right now is one win against Ngannou that he lost a rematch to, and no one else at heavyweight. No one in the top 15 of the rankings does Stipe hold a win over in the entirety of the heavyweight rankings. Not a single person. And that's just how quick the game can change. But when you look at Derrick Lewis's resume, I'm not shitting on Miocic here. That typically does happen when you're a dominant champion, you know what I mean? And eventually all of your contenders leave and then the new guys come up and you haven't fought in a while. And, you know what I mean? You fought the same guy in DC 3 times. It was a trilogy, so that takes up a lot of time. So I understand it. But Derrick Lewis has a win over Ngannou. Lewis deserves to be at number 2 above Stipe. Stipe's been inactive. Lewis should be number 2. He's only lost to Gane. He beat Ngannou, whether you like the matchup and fight or not. He has a win over Ngannou, technically. He's 1-0 against Ngannou. He beat Curtis Blades at number 4. Alexander Volkov at number 5. I know he was getting dominated, but still he won that fight. So he has a win over Ngannou, the champion. A win over Curtis Blades by KO, who's number 4. A win over Volkov by KO, who's number 5. A win over Daukaus by KO, who's number 7. A win over Shamil Abdurakhimov by KO, who's number 8. A win over Marcin Tybura by KO, who's number 9. A win over Blagoy Ivanov by close decision, who's number 13, but he can take any shot ever. I don't know why, but he can just absorb shots. But he's got a great resume. That's 1 Ivanov, 2 Tybura, 3 Abdurakhimov, 4 Daukaus, I can't fucking count, 5 Volkov, 6 Blades, and 7 Ngannou. 7 out of 15 ranked opponents have lost to Derrick Lewis, and he's KO'd the majority of them, and he's beaten the champ. So Derrick Lewis at number 2, him versus Stipe in the meantime would be a perfect matchup to make. And then you look at the rest of the division right now. This was honestly better for the division, because if Daukaus won, he would have said, policeman versus fireman, let's make the fight happen, you know, I deserve this, you know, I gave up my job, I beat a bunch of guys, I deserve my title shot, and I'll wait out for it. He probably would have done that shit. Sat out on the sidelines and waited. But this way, we can make a semi-finals tournament to try and rebound Daukaus, build up other contenders as well, and eventually have a contender at the end of it while we buy ourselves some time, and the winner of Lewis versus Miocic gets their title shot after Gane gets his title shot against Ngannou. So we could do Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov, rematch. That's one stage of the quarterfinals. Chris Daukaus versus Marcin Tybura is the other stage of the quarterfinals. We need 2 more. Aspinall versus Abdurakhimov. Abdurakhimov has already been signed. That's one part of the quarterfinals as well. And also we can do... What was the other matchup? Taito Ivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik as well, as another part of the quarterfinal. So, what I would assume they should do is do, on one side of the bracket, Blades versus Volkov, and then Aspinall versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. Winners take on each other for a title shot. Then, on the other side, to find another title contender, Rozenstruik versus Tuivasa fight each other. Then Daukaus versus Tybura fight each other, and the winners take each other on, and you've got another title contender there as well. So, it's a great time to be a heavyweight. This adds a lot of good time for us to deal with the top of the division, which is an absolute logjam. If I was Stipe Miocic, I'd be calling out Derrick Lewis. It's the perfect matchup. Unless John Jones is fighting Stipe first, it's the perfect matchup. It'd make you undeniable as well. You beat Derrick Lewis, you beat Ngannou. Give me the trilogy. I've already beaten Ngannou once. It's 1-1, stuff like that. So, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, just how good is Cyril Gane, man? But Derrick Lewis, I like to see it, man. He was urgent for that finish. It wasn't just handed to him. He went after it. He didn't hold back. He wasn't fearful or anything like that. He took his time. He was patient. He waited for his moment. And then whenever his moment came up, domination. Absolutely destroyed him. Finished him off in the first round. Defunded his chin. I mean, it's a good thing Daukaus didn't win as the police officer against the ex-convict, because there would have been cities burned down in America, looting, and it would have been absolutely bonkers, I'm sure. So, good win by Derrick Lewis. Very good performance. And for Chris Daukaus, I kind of saw this coming. And I did pick Derrick Lewis by first round KO at the end of the first round, which I called. But I just don't think Daukaus is like big enough to really be a presence. He's a big guy. He's not a small guy. But like, there's just a reality to the fact that Chris Daukaus' last weigh-in was at what? Let me find out right now. Chris Daukaus last weighed in at 235.5 pounds. Derrick Lewis weighed in at 265. He probably cut to make that weight as well from about 275. So he's literally got a 40-pound weight advantage of majority muscle, because let's face it, Daukaus isn't like a little Ali Latifi or anything like that. Like, he's a flabby guy. You're just not going to beat those opponents. I don't feel like Daukaus should be at heavyweight. If he trimmed himself down and cut off a little bit more body fat and got down to about 225, 10 pounds shimmied off of body fat, he could be a real devastating light heavyweight and have some success there. But I don't know if he's at the level of the Ganes and the Aspinalls that are coming up right now in the heavyweight division. So we'll see how the rest of these prospects do. But Chris Daukaus just couldn't pass the test and got laid out and got Derrick Lewis. That's essentially what happens here. He got fucking Derrick Lewis. And Derrick Lewis had a great post-fight speech. Massive momentum right now for Derrick Lewis. Let's keep him active. First round KO. Usually Derrick Lewis has to get beaten the fuck out of to even have a chance at winning. So he just got a first round KO. Let's make the most out of this. That January card is done. They're not fixing that at all. Don't know why, but they just refuse to. March pay-per-view card. Derrick Lewis, Derrick Lewis, Stipe Miocic. Main card, feature fight, something like that. April card maybe even as well. Feature fight of that card. It could even be the co-main event of McGregor's comeback card. But again, Stipe Miocic, when was the last time you fought anyone? Let me find out real quick right now, because honestly I'm getting bored of it. Stipe's last fight was 9 months ago. No chance of signing one yet. It's hard to pick Stipe coming back, because it's hard to tell his motivation levels, because if you really wanted to be a good fighter and rise to the top of the division, you'd have fought by now, but he hasn't. So that's the situation. Good matchup though. I just knew Derrick Lewis would get it done. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Lewis does it again. Stop doubting him. When he's an underdog, you pick him unless it's Cyril Gane. And that's the only exception. You can pick Cyril Gane to beat him because he's good, but Derrick Lewis, can't give him these people his size where they can't intimidate him. He'll lay him out cold. Toodle pip.